China has one of the longest continuous histories on Earth, spanning thousands of years. Most people know about some of its most famous dynasties, such as the Han, Tang, and Qin, but there are many more that have been completely forgotten. Welcome to my channel, and today we're going to look at 5 of China's ancient forgotten dynasties. Before I start, click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. The Xia Dynasty, c. 2072-1600 BCE. The Xia Dynasty is considered the first dynasty in Chinese history, but it's also the most mysterious. No written records have survived from this time. We only know about it from archaeological sites like Erla II, which may have been its capital. The Xie are semi-mythical figures in Chinese history. According to legend, their king Yu the Great tamed the Yellow River floods, bringing order to the world. Later, the philosopher Liao claimed to be descended from the Xia royal line. However, historians debate the historicity of the Xia. Some argue they were a tribal confederation rather than a true dynasty. In any case, they played a significant role in early Chinese state formation and laid the groundwork for later civilizations. The Shang Dynasty, c. 1600 to 1046 BCE. The Shang Dynasty is the first dynasty in Chinese history with confirmed written records. These are found on oracle bones, the earliest of which date back to the 13th century BC. During the Shang, the Chinese developed bronze casting, creating magnificent ritual vessels. They also established ancestral worship and divination as central religious practices. While the Shang are remembered for their cultural achievements, they are often overshadowed by later dynasties. Most people have never even heard of them. Yet, they represent a crucial moment in Chinese history, laying the foundations for many cultural and political practices that would flourish in later periods. The Zhou Dynasty, c. 1046 to 256 BCE. The Zhou Dynasty is the longest-lasting dynasty in Chinese history. It lasted for over 700 years. During the Western Zhou period, the king's power was at its peak. They controlled vast territories and enjoyed great wealth. But after the king's death, the dynasty declined. By the Eastern Zhou period, much of northern China fell under the control of rival states. Despite this, it was during the Eastern Zhou that 2 of China's most influential philosophies, Confucianism and Taoism, were born. The period between the 8th and 3rd centuries BC is divided into 2, the Spring and Autumn and the Warring States. This was a time of intense political conflict that set the stage for the first imperial dynasty. Although China's longest dynasty, surprisingly little is known about the Zhou. They left few records behind, and many of their cultural achievements have been overshadowed by later periods. Nevertheless, they played an essential role in shaping early Chinese society, and their influence can still be seen in Chinese culture today. The Western Xia, 1038 to 1227 AD. The Western Xia was founded by the Tang people. They established their capital in the city of Xi'an, where they created a unique script and artistic style. Tang culture was heavily influenced by Buddhism, and they produced exquisite Buddhist art. However, the Western Xia were destroyed in the mid-13th century when Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes swept across northern China. Today, almost nothing remains of the Western Xia. Most of their cities have been abandoned, and their unique script is no longer used. As a result, the Western Xia are virtually unknown outside of China. Few people even realize they existed. But, despite their obscurity, the Western Xia made significant contributions to Chinese culture. The Liao and Jin dynasties, 907 to 1234 AD. The Liao and Jin were both ruled by non-Han Chinese peoples, the Khitan and Jurchen, respectively. At their peak, they controlled large parts of northern China. Both were technologically advanced and powerful states. The Liao, for example, were skilled horse riders and used gunpowder weapons. However, because they were not Han Chinese, the Liao and Jin have been largely ignored in mainstream Chinese historical narratives. Instead, they are often portrayed as barbarians or uncivilized outsiders. As a result, most people know very little about these two important dynasties: cultural contributions and legacy. Though these dynasties are lesser known, they made significant contributions to Chinese art, writing systems, religious influence, and architecture, among other fields. Their contributions did not go unnoticed, and many were adopted and built upon by later Chinese dynasties. However, without these earlier innovations, Chinese civilization would be unrecognizable. For example, many of the artistic motifs and styles found in Tang's dynasty poetry and painting can trace their roots back to the Western Xia. Even the famous Ming and Qing dynasty palaces in Beijing were built on the foundations of earlier structures from the Yuan and Jin. Without these earlier contributions, China would be a very different place. Why were they forgotten? There are several reasons why these dynasties have been forgotten. 1. Lack of surviving records. Many of these early dynasties left few records behind. This is partly because they were nomadic or semi-nomadic and did unvalue record-keeping as much as later settled agricultural societies. Overshadowed by powerful Han or Tang. The long gap between the Shang and the Han, combined with the destruction of many records during the Qin Shi Huang's purge of books, meant that knowledge of earlier periods was lost or distorted. As a result, the further back you go in Chinese history, the more mythical and legendary figures take over the narrative. 3. Ethnic biases in historical storytelling. Many of these dynasties were ruled by non-Han Chinese kings or emperors. As a result, they were often ignored or marginalized in official Chinese historical accounts, which were written from a Han Chinese perspective. This ethnic bias has led to a gap in our knowledge of early Chinese history and has kept many of these Tisneys out of the public eye. Conclusion: despite being forgotten for much of history, the Shang, and Zhou dynasties, along with the Western Xia, Liao, and Jin, laid the foundation for what China is today. Their contributions to art, religion, philosophy, and politics were foundational for later periods. By remembering their legacy, we restore a fuller picture of world history and honor the rich tapestry of cultures that make up our world. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section below. Remember to click the subscribe button for new episodes every week.